Earlier on, when I was introducing the steering group of 9, we have 2 more people who are working so hard. And one of them is here speaking to us, Brian Lamb. You also have seen him in so many areas in this advocacy. So he's coming to speak to us about the framework for advocacy. Welcome, Brian.
Yes, good evening and good morning to everyone. I just want to take you all through very quickly just a kind of very simple framework that people can use in thinking about advocacy. And I think it also brings together some of the points we've heard from some of our brilliant advocates and practitioners so far. And I just want to take you through this little journey of being clear about what your story is, being clear about the problem you're trying to address and its impact. We've already heard about being clear about the solution and the change we want to make. But then also, how do we make sure that we're clear about the change we want? And then, as I think a number of people have said already, how important it is to appeal to values and emotions as well as just using the facts wisely, and about getting your message right. And then the big message that was just coming through from Nick and her campaign about perseverance. And so I'm just going to very quickly take you through those areas in the next 10 minutes. So next slide, thank you. Thinking about the story, and I'm going to use illustrations from CIICA and from cochlear implants for all of this to illustrate how we've approached this at CIICA as well, and how we think this can give an overall framework for all of us working in this area. So we think the story is clear. Cochlear implants can transform the lives of people with deafness and hearing loss. WHO agree with that. Cochlear implants is one of the most successful of all neural prostheses developed to date. So we have the issue, but we also have the start of the solution. But there's also a major problem because deafness and hearing loss is one of the fastest growing disabilities and the major cause of years lived with disability for people over 70. Although we have that great solution, only 1 in 20 people worldwide receive a cochlear implant out of those that could benefit. So we have a massive gap to fill between the promise of cochlear implants and people not having to live with that disability and the number actually achieving it. So that's our story. Next slide, please. So why is it so difficult? Why is there only 1 person out of every 20 benefiting? We know that cochlear implants provide a solution to profound hearing loss and the associated cost to society and individuals of living with that hearing loss. We know there's a massive gap between those who could benefit and those who have them. Why is that? There's lots of different reasons in different countries, but it includes the criteria of those who should benefit isn't clear. There's insufficient investment in cochlear implants for everybody to benefit. There's poor awareness and there's poor aftercare. We know there's other reasons, but those are some of the main problems that we need to address if more people are going to benefit. We know that unaddressed hearing loss dramatically affects children's and adults' health and life chances while leading to significant additional costs for society. So this is a major issue, and often people don't realize what a major issue hearing loss is in society and for many people across the whole age range. Next slide, please. But we also need to be clear about what is the impact we want to have on that problem. What is the change that we want to make? And that will be different in different countries, and your organizations will all have their own version of this, but we need a clear notion of what it is the impact that we want to have. For CIICA, it's improved access globally to cochlear implantation, rehabilitation, lifelong technical support, including processor upgrades, and aftercare. But as has been said, it's very important how we do that. And so for CIICA, that change needs to be driven by user advocacy so that more people can access cochlear implants and have improved communication and well-being. I think it's really important when we think about impact to always talk about the impact on people, not just the tech, you know, it's better technology or more people are going to have it, but what's the difference that cochlear implants are going to make? And we should also be leading all the time with that. So improved communication and well-being is our real goal for people, not getting them the implant. It's the effects of the implant we need to focus on. Next slide, please. We therefore also need to work out as advocates what it is that we're going to change in the world that's going to bring about that impact, that better communication and well-being. And that again is going to be different, and there's going to be different strategies in different countries. And we're very aware of that. In the UK, we had a national action plan on hearing loss, which included the provision of cochlear implants, and that's working its way through the system. We've just been hearing about New Zealand and increased funding for cochlear implant provision. We know the fantastic work that's been done by Eddie around changes to tax regulations in Uganda. A whole number of countries have been looking at increased access through better criteria and more permissive criteria for cochlear implants. The UK, Belgium, Germany, and the US, there's been work and changes around all of that. And I'm sure there's other countries where that's been done as well. Better guidelines for professionals around referrals. So the UK, Belgium, Germany, and the US, again, have all been doing work on that. And again, I'm sure there's many other countries that do. And we certainly know as CIICA, one of the big challenges is now to look at the improved aftercare and support with funding. And I noticed there was a comment in the chat from Nepal about that as well, and also reminding us that in many countries, funding is really stretched. And, you know, we really need to focus also on how cochlear implants are funded across the world. But the point is, in advocacy terms, we need some clear outcomes. We need to know what it is in our system that is going to shift things and make that change. Next slide, please. Also, how are we going to get there? So we've also been looking at how people have been working on greater public awareness, and Sue's going to talk in a minute more about the work in Italy. We've heard from Spain and we've heard from New Zealand also about how to produce that greater awareness. It's about getting politicians more committed, and we heard from Lara earlier about the brilliant work that they've been doing in Spain to get that commitment. And I know, again, across the world, many of you are doing very similar work to make sure that politicians are committed. It's about the greater involvement of parent groups. And we heard from Sue and also from Romania earlier about the great work that's been done about ensuring that those patient groups are there, are being supported, and therefore can make the arguments. As Anita was also saying, there's nothing more important than, you know, getting that story right to politicians and having users, and Nick was also saying the same about having users at the front of giving that story across and giving the credibility to the story and the message. And then crucially, as Nick and others were saying, we need the evidence to support those arguments. And I think we're uniquely blessed, actually, in the world of hearing loss and cochlear implants, because we have such amazing scientists and economists and audiologists and ENT surgeons that all work in this area and help provide that evidence both about the impact that cochlear implants have and the economic case for cochlear implants. And we have the World Health Organization really driving on this issue now as well. So next slide, please. We also need to think very carefully about the message we give people, and always starting off, I think a number of people have said, with the really positive message. Never use our opponent's ideas to challenge them. So never start with cochlear implants are expensive, but they're really worth it. One of the biggest problems I think we have around cochlear implants is attacking that notion that cochlear implants are an expensive intervention. If you look at it properly, they are a massively cheap intervention compared to the benefits. And there's almost talk starting with the benefits of cochlear implants, not admitting our opponent's ideas that actually they're an expensive intervention. If we say they're expensive, that's all people remember. They don't remember all the good points. We need, as people have said, to appeal to people's values about how we value people's ability to communicate and live their lives well. We want all people to be able to communicate with their families and colleagues. I think a real danger in our area is there is a lot of jargon around cochlear implants, a lot of jargon about the medicalization sometimes of hearing loss and cochlear implants. So we need to be careful always to keep on the front foot in terms of what are the benefits to children, to adults, to the people that are actually going to be using these. Next slide, please. And we need to use that evidence wisely. As I said, use personal examples and stories of the benefits of hearing well. Use the economic arguments about this is about spending to save, as Nick was saying, and use examples of what has worked in other countries to set benchmarks for your own country. We can always keep helping each other, leveling up even more in terms of showing what other countries have done and showing it's possible. Next slide, please. And just to point out, some of the wonderful evidence is available. So we do have the World Hearing Report. We have the implications of that summarized in a number of documents that we've used through CIICA. Please do use that. We're having it translated into lots of languages at the moment. We have the global guidelines of what good provision should look like for cochlear implants. And again, working with EuroCI users, we've summarized those as a CIICA document for you. And we also have the spend to save resources showing that cochlear implants are really good value. And do go to the website, we've given you the address there to find all of those. Next slide, please. So finally, the other big lesson in all of this is as advocates, we have to persevere. I think it took Nick 15 years in New Zealand. Always lead with those user voices, look for allies to build alliances across different groups and find who you can work with and be positive and seize every opportunity. Thank you.